Welcome back to another episode of Clean Cut Conversation. I'm your host, Wade Hampton Jr., also known as the Chosen Barber. And today I have the privilege of sitting down with a new great friend, Mr. Christian Figueroa. He's not only a leader in his role at his job, but also a faithful follower of Christ and one of my all-around great clients. In this episode, we're diving into his spiritual identity, along with real talk about the Bible, life, leadership, and so much more. You're definitely not going to want to miss this. Enjoy the conversation. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Clean Cut Conversation. I'm Wade Hampton Jr., also known as the Chosen Barber, and I have a new good friend of mine, actually. We talk about a lot of different things, so I wanted to have him on the show because we always have a great conversation when we talk about our Creator, our Lord and Savior, our everything. So I'm gonna allow him to introduce himself. So tell him who you are, what you do, and how you ended up in my chair.
My name is Christian Figueroa. I'm a supervisor in a distribution center. How I ended up being Wade was actually on my previous job. I had built a program for the city of Youngstown, which was the whole intent was to reduce violence in the city. And I was looking for a barber, and my case manager that used to be the case manager for that program, I asked her, like, hey, like, I need a barber. Like, do you know anybody? And she was like, oh, you should go to Wade. And I was like, wait. I'm like, so she gave me the contacts. I ended up booking, and then I never went back. I've been here every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, like clockwork. I remember the first time you came, too. You came because you wanted just to get your beard done.
Yeah. Yeah, that is right. And then, beard was.
Then you was like, I'm going out of town next week. What is this Excalibur experience thing you got going on? Because I really want to, look my best and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. So you like the very next week after you came in for the Excalibur experience. And how'd you like that? Was it good?
Yeah, I remember. I was going to Rhode Island.
That's right. Rhode Island. I couldn't remember exactly where it was.
Yeah. Oh, that was great. I felt like I was pampered. I was like, this feels nice.
That's a spa treatment.
That feels really nice. Like, my face felt great. It looked great. It was just relaxing. And then it was just like all around, like it was awesome between like how it felt, my skin, and then also just the haircut.
Got the haircut in there.
Yeah, just the haircut every day. I was like, oh yeah, I don't gotta keep looking.
That's it. So I usually, sometimes I do topics, sometimes I don't do topics. This is mainly for like raw conversation, so like whenever we get together on this podcast, we talk about just like real life stuff, like things that are happening in the world, things that, maybe should happen in the world, or things like just random conversation. Sometimes we go on sports. I mean, it just depends. But today I did like to talk about spiritual identity. And, originally I wanted to like dive in and have like notes and stuff and all that, whatever. But I was like, yeah, if you know God's word, you're in your Bible, it doesn't, people can pretty much spring almost any topic on you and it should spark something in you.
Mm-hmm.
So when I first told you about spiritual identity, what did it spark? Like, what did it, I seen you say, because normally we say, initially it was like, there's a lot there.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot there. I mean, I try to go for at least, 30 minutes on these podcasts. So, of course, we can go for hours on this, who God says we are. And because it's always good to know who you are and whose you are. So, but what do you feel about that topic? Like, what do you think? What is your first thing in your spirit that you think about when you hear spiritual identity?
The first thing that came to mind, I think, was so many stories in the Bible. God was calling them something that they did not see in themselves. So, because we know that, what comes to me is, because we know that God lives in eternity and we live in time, we often forget that. So, you have like so many stories like Gideon, like for example, he was like, brave man of valor. And he himself, first of all, I'm hiding right now. You know what I mean? Like, who are you talking to? Because, like, I always think of that funny story because I pictured him like just God calling him Almighty Man, and he's like, who are you? Like, who are you speaking to? Mighty? Like, that's probably like Tim over there. He lives over there. That's not me.
You're not talking about me,
right? Right. So God usually like calls us like that, what we already are, that's inside of us.
Even though we don't see it in ourselves. Like, we don't see ourselves as strong and mighty. We don't see ourselves as courageous and, bold in the spirit, but he sees us, as courageous and bold in the spirit. I love that. That's a good example.
Yeah, it's just so funny. Just the story in general, when you really think about it, it's kind of funny because he was probably like, who? Nah. And we often forget that God sees already the finished product.
Right.
Because he starts with the end and then goes back to the beginning.
Right.
So.
And then he's the author of both.
Yes. So it's very interesting. I think there's so much as far as like what really bike you can really like ride when it comes to spiritual identity, because I mean, like you said, the Bible says so many things about who we are. And who do we get our identity from?
Because a lot of things can like shape and like mold our identity, like as far as like in the world. Like things that happen not only to us but happen like around us. Like it's more or less people tell you that, oh, you're this, or oh, you're that, and you'll never be this, or you'll never be that, or you grow up in this side of town, so this is all we know, and this is all that everybody is ever going to be. But then it's like there's always that diamond in the rough, or there's always that flower that's growing out of the cement. It's like, they become great. They become, who God actually called them to be. You hear all these great stories of like people that go through trials and tribulations of life, but then come out being great beyond measure. You know what I'm saying? Like, they become pastors, or they become leaders, or they become all types of things. But I think that God had already had that written for them, but they just had to go through to get through. So
that's so accurate. I think we often forget that, like, this is a two-part kind of thing, because sometimes when we say spiritual identity, we often forget that we also have to see exactly what you're talking about right now, the stuff that people have been going through when they were kids and all that stuff. Because it's spiritual identity, but we're also living on earth right now. So
I still have to do life. Like, I know all the spiritual stuff, but I still have to live life too. Like, I still have to be present here in time, like you said before.
Yeah.
Like how you said that, like, God lives in eternity, and then we live in time.
So we often forget that. And also, have we ever talked about the trees? Have we touched on that? I feel like we haven't. We might have. So interesting enough, I had this conversation with some people at work yesterday and all that stuff. And because they were looking at one of my tattoos and said, what does that mean? I was like, oh, just some trees. It reminds me not to judge. And they looked at me like, trees and judging. What are you talking about?
What?
Yeah, I was like,
God calls us peculiar people. That's a very peculiar answer. Expound.
And they looked at me like, I was like, all right, let me explain. So, I kind of started like grabbing a stick, and kind of like, how you cut a tree and you have the rings of the tree, right? And most people know that if you count the rings of the tree, you can figure out how old the tree is.
Right.
But once you start getting deeper into that, there's actually a science that studies it. It's called, if I'm not mistaken, dendrochronology. I might be wrong.
Dendrochronology.
Yeah. So what people don't know is every single actually detail of that life of the tree is in those rings. So when they study those rings in that science, they know when it gave fruit, when it almost died, when it was underwater, when it didn't have enough water, when it had a scar, when a lightning hit it, like everything, absolutely everything, because every single impactful thing that happens to that tree leaves a mark on that ring. And then what happens is obviously the outer layer comes, and then, you know, we have the bark and stuff. So I ended up telling them that, and I said, so how does that then, how are we similar to trees? How does that make? I was like, well, and I told them, when you look in scripture, it's very interesting when you look at one of the stories when Jesus healed the blind. So when Jesus healed them, Jesus asked them, what do you see? And he said, I see men walking like trees. So then, obviously, you kind of make an assumption that the dude lost his sight, because how does he know what trees are? So he probably had sight, lost it, and then obviously Jesus healed him. So he said, I see men walking like trees. And it got me thinking. I was like, what? And then my dad had taught me this. So then how, I was like, I see men walking like trees. So it's very interesting. So just like trees, obviously we're not going to cut a human in half and
see, cut you in the torso and count your rings.
Because then that will definitely make you a psychopath or serial killer.
Jeffrey Dahmer type going on here.
But as all of those things that happen to this tree leave scars in those rings, every single thing, either it be small, good, bad, that happens in our life leaves some type of impact or scar in our lives that we might carry for the rest of our lives.
I think the first thing that pops in my head is I have a lesson actually that I have never taught yet. It's called trauma versus treatment. So every scar, if you see somebody has a scar, one or two things happen. Either they had trauma or they had treatment, because it still leaves a scar, regardless of whatever it is. If I see a scar on somebody's chest, they might have had open heart surgery. Yeah. Or they fell on a pipe when they was younger. I mean, we don't know unless you ask them. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of their story. Right. So yeah, that's.
And so it reminds me. So my dad taught me this, and he always taught me, like, that's why you never judge people, because you don't know what rings they're carrying on the inside.
Ooh. That's true. And until you ask, until they testify, until they tell, their story, because everybody has a story, everybody has a testimony of where God has brought them from, and I think that contributes to their shout. I remember growing up in church, man, and you just hear people shouting around the church and everything. Yeah. What the heck? What's going on here? Then as you learn, like, okay, they're catching the Holy Spirit. Then you're like, well, I mean, but do it take all that though? Like, you gotta be running. You gotta do all that. But then you think about it, like nowadays, I think like, man, you don't know what that person is shouting about. You don't know what they done been through, what they've been delivered from, or who they've been delivered from. So you just don't know.
That's so accurate. Like,
but you say, you don't know what kind of rings that they are actually carrying. What's up, Kev? I mean, it's just that's so profound.
It reminded me, because like I actually told this story yesterday at work while I was talking to them, and I remember this like it was yesterday. Like, I don't think this will never leave me. Like, after this day, like I pretty much changed. Like, it was a really eye opener for me. And I used to also work for Help Hotline. And right now it's Help. They changed the name to Help Network, but back then it was Help Hotline. Yeah. And my job was pretty much to go around and find homeless people and get them into treatment and stuff. So back then, I knew every single homeless person in the city of Youngstown.
What's up, Bill? How you doing?
Exactly.
You still homeless? All right. Come with me.
like all of them, I knew them. So, I used to go to the rescue mission because where do you find homeless people? Right, in shelters. So sometimes I would go over there and I was having an off day. I'm just going to say that.
You leave it. I already know.
I was having an off day, usually. I'm pretty, but like, I don't know what was wrong with me that day. So I come in the rescue mission and I have my paperwork and I see this dude walking out. And he was limping. Half of his side wasn't functioning and all that stuff. And for some reason that day, I made a whole story in my mind about what this dude was doing and why he was there. Why? I have no idea. I don't know this dude. First time I've seen him. So immediately in my mind, I'm like, look, he can't really walk right. He can't move his arms. He's probably doing stuff that he wasn't supposed to. He got shot and now he's here. So this is
like a whole narrative. Yeah, like, you know what? He probably got shot.
Listen, I did a whole story.
Just look at him.
And made a whole narrative. Like, I don't even know this guy. It was the craziest thing ever.
Just immediately got to judging him.
Oh, like, it was crazy.
We do that though. I mean, I don't know why we do that, and it's like uncontrollable. It's like, man, look at this cat. Why do we do that? Because we're not trees. Trees don't look at other trees like, bitch, I grew higher than you.
Yeah.
Look at you growing all slow.
Oh man, you didn't even have a branch. Look at that. Look at that.
You ain't bearing no fruit since '97. They might as well just cut you down. Count your rings. No.
I don't know why, but I think about it and I laugh at that part. I'm like, why did I do that? Like, this doesn't even make sense. Like, that's not even common. It's not normal to do.
Right.
So I made this whole narrative for this dude. Like, so, I go to the back and I talk to the guy, hey, you got any new people that I could talk to today? He's like, yeah. So I go and sit down on the table and sure and behold, guess who's the first person?
The guy.
The guy.
The guy that you had the narrative about.
Yeah. So, again, I'm sticking to, I don't know what was wrong with me that day, but for some reason, as I see him, I catch an attitude. For no reason. Again, I don't even know this dude. I don't know his name, nothing. I'm like,
here's dude.
Here he comes. I'm about to hear this, and I'm like, I get an attitude, and I feel bad because, so I was very rude and dismissive when I even started talking to him. So he sits down. I'm like, why are you here? Very, very
dry.
Yeah, it was awful.
Maybe
honestly.
A little judgmental, condescending.
Yeah, I had an attitude with the dude. I don't even know him. Horrible, just horrible behavior, and. So I'm like, all right, let's get this over with, and blah, blah, blah. And he proceeds to say, so yeah, the reason I'm here is I had 2 strokes in a row, and half of my body got paralyzed. And because of my disability, my wife left me. She took my kids. She doesn't let me see them. I lost my job. Nobody wants me because I'm a burden now. I lost everything, and I have nowhere to go now.
Wow.
And my heart sank.
Just sank.
And
right into the chair.
Oh, listen, I have never felt so small in my life. I felt like the most disgusting human being because of what I've done. You know what I mean? Like, I felt so small. And it was just, I remember it like it was yesterday. And I felt so bad, like so bad, to the point where I had to cut the conversation short because I started tearing up because of like how I was behaving, what I did. I had to cut the conversation short, and I can say I don't usually cry, and I went to the bathroom and bawled my eyes out.
Wow.
Because it hit me. And it hit me so hard that I was like, what am I doing?
Like, why would I judge him like that? Like, why would I even see him like that? But sometimes it's like, that's just, like you said, you was having a day. And we tend to start to bleed on people that they ain't even cut us for whatever reason. And he ain't did nothing to us. And he, all of a sudden, just let him have it.
I had an attitude with this dude. I didn't even know him.
And what's funny is like he didn't really pick up on that.
No.
Probably because he's probably used to people treating him like that because of like now how he identifies as being handicapped. Mm-hmm. Like most handicapped people, they kind of get, I guess, used to, how people look at them, even though they know that God has made them, spiritually wonderfully made in His image. Yeah. So just because he has a deficiency of some sort, we often try to, we still do it. We still look at people differently, or try to treat them differently, or try to help them. This Nat is trying to get me.
Listen,
he just stole on me. Him right in the nose. Bow. But we look at people weird sometimes because of their deficiencies. We can't help it sometimes. I mean, we just look at them like, oh man, I want to help him. And then like, I don't need no help. Some people get defensive.
They really do.
They get real defensive. Or they get offended. Like, don't help me. I don't need no help. What I need help for?
Do you have a story where like you did something similar and you realized like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I didn't get to talk to the person though. So I was at Walmart one time, and I used to work downtown a lot. So I seen a lot of the guys from the mission. They would walk downtown and they would go to the store and get alcohol and stuff like that or whatever. And he came and asked for some money a few times. And one time I gave him some money. He comes back down the street and he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. He came back down the street with a 6 or a 12 pack of beer. And I said, dude, like, you ain't hungry? He's like, nah, I ate a little while ago, so I'm just going to have a drink. And I was like, what? But I judged him, like he probably going to go buy some alcohol or go support his habit, whatever.
Yeah.
And he did exactly what I thought he was going to do. But then, so fast forward, earlier this year, I see the same guy. I see him at Walmart. And he was like, hey, brother, you spare some change? And I just looked at him. And I knew exactly who he was. I just looked at him. I didn't say nothing to him. I just looked at him. But in my head, I was like, man, you still homeless? Like, I got upset. Like, I got angry. Like, dude, this dude is still homeless. Like, what is going on? Like, why are you still begging for change? Because, I always tell my kids, like, people are homeless because of a couple different situations. Sometimes they gave up on themselves, or somebody else gave up on them, or C, both, or D, sometimes like all of the above, like, like everything has happened to them. Like that one guy you was just talking about, life happened to them. I don't know this dude's story, but I know that I judged him. Like the first time I judged him, I was right. Unfortunately, I was right. And the second time I seen him, last time I seen him, I was just like, man, I didn't even say anything. He said something to me, hey, brother, whatever. And I just looked at him. Like I must have gave him this look because he just like walked away. And sometimes I can't control my face. I don't know what it is. God, he been helping me with that. And I don't like to talk about people either. He helped me with that too. It's just, it was just a situation to where I felt like, I was judging him again. And, of course, we one situation away from being in a situation like that. Easily. Like you can lose your house, you can lose your job, you can lose your car. And, at that point, maybe, if you're married, your marriage takes a hit because now you're not the person that they married. And I know the vows say for better or for worse, sickness and health, to death do you part. But sometimes it's too much for certain people. Like, this is too much. I can't deal with this. So I'm going to go take the kids and we're going to stay with my mother. No, you can't come. Like, what? We are married. But things happen to people, and it becomes a part, like you said, it becomes a part of their story. It becomes a part of their rings that they carry around. Like that dude has some strong rings that he was carrying around. Christian just judging him.
Listen, I remember, sometimes when I recall the story, I can feel, that happened years ago, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was changed my life.
I even have situations like people judge me like that. Like I walk into a room and I can just see people looking and questioning. Like in my mind, I'm forming a narrative. Like what is he doing here? He's got a nice suit on, so he must be important.
Yeah,
he's not really important. He doesn't really have on good shoes. Who is he with? Until it's until you shake hands with the person that you're actually there with, they're like, oh, he knows Keelan, for example, or he knows so and so, or he knows the pastor. He's here with pastor or something like that. So it's people judge you or you judge them. Yeah. And it's just we have to kind of try to extract that from our character of judgmental vibes and just thinking less of people sometimes. And I just feel like sometimes it's a struggle because we do what we do and we live our lives, and sometimes we have our days.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have our days. I always tell my oldest daughter, I say, champions have bad moments, not bad days. Mm-hmm. In hopes that will shape her identity, and it has. She's just I'm having a bad time. Like I should say, I'm having a bad time. I'm having, this one point in time at school, I just didn't really feel like I was having a good time or a good day. And when you become a parent, wow, you help actually shape the identity of your children. But that has to do with the strength of your identity and how you see yourself.
So can I ask you this? Do you find it difficult? Because honestly, I think we've talked about this before, even it's hard for me to think of having kids even because of how everything is right now. Where I'm trying to, if I ever have kids, push my kids one way and everything else is trying to push it the other way.
Right.
So, especially when it comes now to identity with everything going on.
Right.
How do you even manage it?
So I think about it like this. I can show them and get them ready for the things that I know and the things that I've been through. And I taught a lesson on this one time. It's there's two types of people. There's two types of people. Person number one is I went through it, so you got to go through it. Mm-hmm. Person number two is I went through it, so you don't have to go through it. And I consider myself a person number two because it's of course I got all this knowledge, but it's the wisdom, which is the application of knowledge that I've learned over time, and I've put that in my identity bank. I learned that over time. It's about sharing the knowledge and sharing the wisdom. It's the application and teaching them certain things. They'll ask me questions. They'll ask me very blunt questions. They'll ask me questions about Christianity. They'll ask me questions about, atheists and stuff like that. They'll ask me questions about homosexuality. Ask me questions about all types of stuff. And I just give them my answer. Because when you have children, honestly, mom and dad's answer is gold. Usually, when you're growing up, whatever your parents told you, you saw it as true. Yeah. It was, you've seen it true. Until you grow and you're I really don't like it like that. Yeah. I don't really see it like that. And that's when you're becoming your own man or your own woman, because you then see things for how you want to see them. But I help them see how I see it, but it's scary because society is wild. I mean, everything is pushing a motive and pushing an agenda nowadays. Everything is really crazy. But the only thing I can say to that is that I try to be the most consistent thing in their lives. Mm-hmm. So I go to church every single Sunday, not because it's religious, but this is what I do. Yeah. They say that's a religious practice when you go every Sunday or whatever, but that's just a part of who I am. I go work out every morning. It's a part of who I am. It's just what I do. It's nothing that I'm trying to compete in no show. I'm not trying to be, on stage or nothing like that. I just go to the gym for my health. So there's things I show them as far as like routine wise, like to help them in life, to shape and mold their young identities and to help them get a routine, to help them understand like, okay, we go to church because of this. I'm their youth minister basically at church as well. So now they not only see what I do at home, they also see how I interact in public.
Yeah.
In church and in public. I'm the same person on camera, off camera, at church, at the gym, at Walmart. It's a consistent, like, I'm the same person. I'm going to treat you the same way everywhere I see you. Like, I try not to deviate from that.
Right.
If I got something to say to you, guess what? Say it to your face. And sometimes I get to that age where I really don't care how it makes you feel.
Right.
Because it makes me feel a certain type of way that you feel a certain type of way. Sorry, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
I ain't quite old and ornery yet, but, I can see myself as an old man now. Like, get out of off my grass.
Get off my lawn.
I do that already. My grass ain't even all that this year. Stop walking across my grass. My grass is in shambles right now. But raising kids, man, and I think it's more difficult because when people don't know who they are for real, especially if they don't have a spiritual foundation, it's hard to really teach them and show them, kids, of course, of like how to navigate this life. I don't know how people do it without God. I don't know how people do it without following Christ. I don't know how they do it because that's where I lean to. Like, I don't know. So God, please show move. I don't know. Like I pray. I teach them to pray. Teach them how to pray. Show them that they can just talk to God any however they want to speak to God. Like, there's no structure. Hey God, it's me again. Like
it's your boy.
It's your boy. Big G, what up? Like, however you need to talk to him, just don't be disrespectful and be mocking in the spirit, blasphemy and all that good stuff. Bad stuff. It's scary sometimes.
I guess it just seems rough because, like, when I think about the structure of how God built everything, and I see everything happening right now, I think the enemy has a good idea because based on how God built everything and how he laid everything out, how it's supposed to be,
right?
If you can get people, especially men, to not know what they are or who they are,
they're literally demasculating men.
Everything else fails.
Yeah.
Like,
when you remove the head priest from the household,
everything else fails.
Everything else falls.
So it's like,
and that's what I had to establish. I mean, I establish that all the time. Anyways, I told my son that the other day. I said, I run this household. Like, I don't know what you thought, because sometimes he's a knucklehead every now and then. I don't know what you thought, but I run this household. And I love the things like, as for me and my house, we serve the Lord, But I told him, I was like, you can't do your own thing because these are my rules.
Yeah.
I run this household. God has named me the high priest of this household. He has chosen me to do what it is that he needs me to do for y'all as my children or offspring or whatever you want to call
it. Yeah. I just, when it comes to also spiritual identity, purpose also comes like into mind, like it sticks its head,
Oh yeah.
Because it's just so much, because obviously we have all the stuff that the Bible calls us. Like, for me, the most important one personally for me will probably be a citizen of the kingdom. Just based on, and we definitely had this conversation about the kingdom before, because that's that's my main thing. To a citizen, but even like your spiritual identity of like who you are in God and your purpose, even as a regular man and regular woman, because based exactly on what you said, you run the household. We and don't misunderstand me when I say this, but when we look at even in the Garden of Eden, when did God give any instructions to Eve?
Right.
Never.
That's why nothing happened. When she bit the apple, nothing happened. But Adam, you sat there and you let her bite that apple. You fool. How you let this jive turkey of a snake talk to your woman?
And
that's why we had that conversation. Me and Lex had that conversation, man. I actually had to go back and read my Bible some more. I was like, wait a minute, now hold on. It was just about the placement of Adam, like when this conversation was going on.
Where were you, brother?
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, he came slipping and sliding and talking to your wife. I don't care who the man. It could be you come and talk to my wife. I'm like, what's up, man? Everything good? I don't care who it is. Listen, we know. Somebody come talk to your woman. Like, hold on now.
What was he doing?
Where were you at, sir? And it says that he was with her, in the garden, but it doesn't say it like exactly like.
Was he in the general vicinity? Was he like climbing a tree, getting a fruit? Like, what was he doing?
Because nothing happened. So, naturally we it's still a biblical conversation. So naturally you see, like, all right, your woman tries something and she thinks it's good. This is so good, baby, try this. And you're like, oh, cool. Where you get this from? Where'd you get this from? No, I did. Why are you naked?
It is the craziest thing.
It is.
And I think
that's all the way back to the beginning, like just.
I think that also ties a lot with, honestly, spiritual identity, because we have like purpose. I don't really like, as far as roles, it makes things easier, but in scripture there's not really set. What I mean roles is like stuff in the house, like cooking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's more of like,
that's old days now.
Old days, and just like, hey, how you guys want to do it, how it works in your relationship.
Right.
But
because maybe a woman can't cook and you cook.
Exactly. I mean, that's how it was back in the day, in biblical days. That's why when who was it? It was Abraham? I think it was Abraham. Was going to die. He said, oh, well, what do you want? He said, get your son to cook, because usually the men were the ones that cooked back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
But even like, it's so funny because if you read carefully, I laughed so hard when I realized it, that God didn't give no instructions to Eve. He gave all the instructions to Adam, right?
Right.
But when you read what Eve said the instructions were, there was something added that God didn't told Adam to do. So he said, hey, don't eat from the tree. When you read scripture, it says that don't even look at the tree. When Eve is talking to the serpent, he said, oh, I must not eat from the tree or not even look at it. God didn't say that. So what does that mean? Adam said, listen, woman, God said don't eat from the tree. What does that mean? Don't walk next to it. Don't even look at it.
We shouldn't even be over here right now.
So it's very interesting, because it was so funny when I realized. I was like, God didn't say that in the main instruction. No, Adam added that to make sure, listen.
Like a precaution.
Yeah.
He knew his woman. He was like, hold on now, listen, don't even look that way. Because it's going to look nice. We got all this around us to be eat from. He said, don't touch that. Don't even look at it.
And it's so funny because, I hate that also back then, because of that spiritual identity back in the day, woman was treated unfairly, especially in church, because everything was like, man, oh, because they used to grab verses and obviously switch the whole thing of like, oh, you shouldn't be speaking with, like, that's not what that means.
Nope.
So, and I think about that because I'm like, okay, God gave the instructions to us, and which also, in a sense, molds some type of spiritual identity, because even for women, what does a woman do? Well, biblically speaking, a woman is an incubator, right? So that means with everything. So, and they're like, oh no, we're not just like pop-up babies. I'm like, I'm not talking about babies. I'm talking about everything that the woman grabs, she'll multiply. You know, you give a woman a house and she'll grab it, multiplying it, and turn it into a home. And that's the power of a woman, you know what I mean, in her spiritual identity too. You know, a man works, buys food, she grabs the food, multiplies it, and makes a meal. You know, and that's with everything, the good and the bad. You know, you give trouble to your woman, she'll multiply you and give you hell, because that's just what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's just what it is. And I think also that ties into the spiritual identity of like who we are, and like our purpose. Obviously, everybody's purpose is different. You got to find individually, but I think the spiritual identity in the sense of helping you know and navigate through difficulties.
Yeah.
Like, no, God said that, like, be not afraid and all of that stuff. No, I'm confident. Like, I got this, and just using all of those things as far as an identity, because there's so many things when it comes to spiritual identity, especially when a kingdom.
Yeah.
Because if God says that I'm a kingdom citizen, that has a whole lot of attachment to it.
Yeah.
Because then I was like, well, what is a citizen? Well, a citizen has rights. So then
we have a right to the inheritance of the kingdom.
Yes. Well, I have rights even as a citizen. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, I'm a citizen. That means that my government protects me. So there's so many things that it's not just like the title or the name of what God is saying, is the things that come attached to it. Because
I told y'all we can go on and on. I'm telling you, this stuff is heavy. I got him already marked as part 2. Don't even worry about it. We can have a part 2.
How do you know that? We always end up talking about scripture.
Always. That's why I was like, I prepped you last time. I told y'all, I said, hey man, we're gonna put this on camera one of these times. And he was like, okay. So, but we're gonna wrap up a little bit. We're gonna definitely have part 2. I'm telling you. I have one last question, and that is, if you could tell your 18-year-old self one thing, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year-old self.
Knowing what you know.
Knowing what I know right now.
Knowing what you know right now. Like, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I would say get knowledge. Get knowledge and understanding above everything else. It would have saved me a lot of headaches.
A lot of time. That's good. That's real good. So guys, listen, I appreciate you guys tuning in to Clean Cut Conversation. Once again, this is Christian. I'm Wade. And we had a great conversation. Hope you liked it. If you did like it, press that like button. Like, follow, and share. And also subscribe to the page. And stay sharp. And until next time, stay blessed. And this button don't never work. Did it work? No, it didn't. Wow. What an amazing conversation with my brother, and friend, Christian Figueroa. I hope today's episode encouraged you to grow in your spiritual identity, your faith, your leadership, and your everyday walk with Christ. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Clean Cut Conversation on YouTube so you don't miss what's coming next. Once again, I'm Wade Hampton Jr., the Chosen Barber, and until next time, stay encouraged, stay grounded, and keep the conversation clean cut.